Let's start by understanding how you define failure.
For me, failure is ever defined as failure because you've just found another way not to do it. It's not failure.
Yeah. I was told that when I started my beauty business, Spa
Yes.
88, a long time ago, that someone said, do your contracts like you are getting divorced.
Yes. If you restart, you've already learned what you don't like and you've already learned what works and what doesn't, and you're just picking up from there. You're not starting from ground zero. A lot of people say, yo, I started at zero, or I started another business and it failed, and then I had started at zero. But a lot of people who are first generation entrepreneurs fail not because it's hard, but because you've just never seen how it's done and you don't get taught. Many people don't have mentors.
If you are to talk to someone young who wants to start a business, what would you say they should know given the experience you've had?
Oh my God.
Three things. Give them three things.
The one thing that a lot of young people need to learn is
Austin, why did you stress me out when I was trying to pin you down for today? Do you realize how excited I am that you're here?
Thank you for having me. But I think, it's the joys of running a business sometimes where the mind is all over the place that, it's hard to get to everything because you try to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that you ended up reaching out to Tepo also helped because that's the person who kind of runs my life. He is my boss.
I'm keeping both your numbers. But thank you for being here to talk about failure.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by understanding how you define failure, because in the conversations I've had, everyone has a very different definition.
That's very true. I don't think, for me, failure is ever defined as failure because you've just found another way not to do it. It's not failure.
Yeah.
It's just another way not to do it, or another approach not to do to attempt to do something the way that you've attempted. And a lot of people see it as the end, and that's when it's failure. But for me, I always try find other alternatives and other ways. Giving up is when it becomes failure.
Okay.
That's what it is. And
When you
I've
walk
never
away
given up.
from it, yeah.
I've never given up. I've always just said, look, if it's not working this way, then we're going to do it in another way. We're going to try again. And sometimes you're just trying too early, and if you try again, it
At
works
the right
out.
time. Yeah. Growing up, so how were you raised? Because for a lot of us, we couldn't really say that to our parents, like, yo, this was another way to not do maths.
Yes.
Wait, not do maths like this.
I think I was very lucky to be smart enough not to ever find myself in a place where you could say I have failed, even in school.
Really?
Yeah,
You
I don't
never
think
got
I
into
never
trouble with
got
your school
no,
marks?
I never got into trouble
Wow.
with school marks.
Yeah, that's
I did averagely well for a while.
I love
I
that. Averagely well. So maybe I was also like in the averagely well space.
That's it.
That's
And
good.
you don't
My
you don't
kids should not
shine.
know about this
No.
term because they're
It's
like,
the same
Mom,
because
it
you're
was
always
averagely
pushing them to
well.
do better.
Yeah.
And then when you tell them you did averagely well, they're like, if you did averagely well, why should I do better?
Yeah.
And I think for me, you never shine, but you're never too low to be noticed. It's almost as if you're just cruising in the middle of everybody and nobody pays attention to you because you don't shoot up too high or don't shoot down too low.
So when you started your business, what were fears that maybe crept up as you were thinking? Because for a lot of people, to start a business, you have two voices in your head. The one voice that is your cheerleader, the brave voice that wants to conquer the world, and then another voice that is like deterring you from pursuing your ambition, the evil voice, we call it.
True. I think I was young and stupid when I started my business, to be honest with you. And I think when you're young and stupid, nothing really scares you because you haven't learned what real failure is, or you haven't learned, you haven't been burnt enough. So when you start, you're determined and nothing is going to stand in front of you or in your way. So I always just said, look, no matter what stands in front of me, I will go past it. I will be running at 100 miles an hour and I will run through the wall. and I will not stop. And I think I did not really worry about it because I had another business before I started RTC Studios. And I think the toughest thing that I ever did for myself was walk away from that business
Sure.
because me and my partners in that business did not agree on certain things. And when I did that, I think it showed me that if you restart, you've already learned what you don't like and you've already learned what works and what doesn't. And you're just picking up from there. You're not starting from ground zero. A lot of people say, yo, I started at zero, or I started another business and it failed. And then I had started at zero. But you started with failures or moments where you learned what doesn't work and you take that, you apply it to your next business. Now you're already a step ahead of someone starting from zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. If you think back to how you made the decision to walk away from that business,
yes.
what would you call out as just moments of clarity for you to kind of walk away?
I think there were a few things. One of them, just the understanding of the industry that we are in, that everything happens in a moment. Someone can call you today because they don't have a photographer. And if we keep waiting for the perfect job that allows us to set up and be ready for it tomorrow, that's never going to work. The industry was progressing in a way that things were happening very fast.
Yeah.
And one of the things that my partners and I did not agree on is the time to always be available. If you are available and someone calls today and says, in an hour, I need a photographer at this place, some of them would be like, you know what, no, we need, they need to call us ahead of time, give us a proper brief, do this. What you learn about this industry is the industry is a mess. Like, people get ready, people get dropped, and sometimes things just don't happen the way they're supposed to happen. And if you've got the availability, why can't you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you are to talk to someone young who wants to start a business, what would you say they should know, given the experience you've had?
Oh my God.
3 things. Give them 3 things they should know. I love thinking in threes.
I think if anybody is starting a business, you have to be a little crazy. You have, like, literally, you have to be a little crazy because running a business will, one moment, it's like the weather in Johannesburg in winter.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
one moment you're up and everything is going well, then the next moment it's cold and, you are lonely by yourself trying to figure out where it all went wrong. And then the next moment you have that hope that's pushing you to not give up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that I wish someone had told me. I think the one thing is, as a first generation entrepreneur in my family, you never get to see what it's like being an entrepreneur. And a lot of people who are first generation entrepreneurs fail not because it's hard, but because you've just never seen how it's done and you don't get taught. Many people don't have mentors. So the first thing that I would say is get someone who is objective, who can help you understand what you're going through in your business, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's just easier to speak to someone who's either experienced something that you're going through or someone who can just be objective, because when you're in the eye of the storm, all you see is the storm.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah.
Number 2, prepare for the worst. Always prepare for the worst.
Do you know, like, I was told that when I started my beauty business, Spa
Yes.
88, a long time ago, that someone said, do your contracts like you are getting divorced.
Yes.
Just to begin.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I was like, what do you mean? I'm excited. It's a new business. I've got, a business partner. Why must I contract like we are dealing with a divorce? So I can see that you're breathing so heavily now, because tell me, what does that mean to
because
you?
it's the
Why
truth.
yeah,
It is.
yeah,
It is the truth. You
Yeah.
need to contract and deal with it like it's a marriage, because when people break up, people want what they want.
Yeah.
And they walk away. They can just walk away. If your business is in debt, they walk away. You must deal with the debt. And if you have contracts in place, you protect yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that contracts are not to protect me. It's to protect the relationship we have.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, oh, a contract between me and the business only protects the business. No, it is a binding contract to show you the relationship that we have and what is expected of each other. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us as young businesses, and again, I was one of those people who made the mistake that I did not have contracts in my first business.
Oh, really?
And when I walked away, it was such a painful thing because I had invested a lot into that business. And then I walked away with nothing besides what I walked in with.
That's
Everything
hectic,
else that the business had made, my two partners kept. And I walked away with nothing. And you always say, no, I'm doing it gracefully, you're doing it. But it's not easy because you put in the effort to do this. And as you walk away and you remember, I was told, and I was even told by two lawyers,
Are you serious?
trust me. And I think they saw it. And I was like, no,
We
and one of
trust each
them,
other. These are my friends.
there you go.
Oh, we're all good. We've known each other for 7 years.
One of them was the lawyer for the business. And right as we were starting, he was like, get a contract in place. And when I left, I remembered those words because I played myself and I had not prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
I had just prepared to enjoy the trip. I wanted to enjoy, this thing of building a business with other people because when it's beautiful, it's beautiful. When it gets ugly, it gets ugly
Very
and nobody
fast.
cares about
Yeah.
anyone else. They want what they want. And if there's no contract to say, this is what you own, this is what you can walk away with, and this is how you can walk away as well. It's always sad because as young, again, it goes back to first generation. You're doing it because you're passionate about it. You're doing it because you care. I'm an artist, I want to create art. But then it's like
And you
if
romanticize the entire
thing, yeah. And if you don't put barriers around yourself and that relationship, when you walk away, you're gonna walk away like I did.
Yeah.
But luckily enough for me, what it did is it allowed me to build my new business with contracts for employees, contracts for myself.
You learned a deep lesson that's going to remain in your heart and mind for a long time.
Forever.
Yeah.
And then I think the third thing is always ask. I always ask for opportunities. I think, in every door, there are people who know me, like, one of them being Siameta Neslika. Every single time I see him, he always jokes because when I would see him back in the day, I'd always ask for work.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Every single time I'd be like, listen, I don't know what you're doing, but listen, and and
You haven't asked me for
but you and I speak differently. But
I must ask you for work.
That's it. And the thing about it is people don't ask. I don't know if it's because of a fear of rejection or
that's
just
true.
seem like you're begging, but you never know what opportunities people have. And when we're sitting here today, you might have a campaign that you're looking to do, and there's an opportunity for someone like me to come in and do the stuff. And especially for relationships where I have a relationship and I've worked with you before, when I meet up with someone, I'm like, oh, what are you busy working with?
Yeah.
Because that kind of gives me an idea of if there's an opportunity for me to come in, I could just always say, oh, on that idea, I think, we can help you with this.
Yeah.
Or, if you need a hand or if you need content, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask, you won't get given. Like, they say closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah,
And a
that's
lot of young people think, asking for work is a bad thing. Like if, the one thing that a lot of young people need to learn is, put away your pride.
Yeah.
Put away your pride. If you're running a business, always be aware that there's someone who's holding an opportunity. If you don't ask, you're gonna be surprised when it gets given to your friend or someone close to you because you never asked and you waited for it to be given to you. What makes you important enough that it must be given to you and not anyone else?
And not anyone else. Yeah. I love that. And I always say, even when one is negotiating their employment contract,
Yes.
one of the things I've learned is, again, the importance of asking.
A lot of people don't.
Don't
I've learned that
ask.
people who
Yeah.
negotiate employment contracts don't negotiate.
They don't.
No.
Actually,
don't.
I think there's a lot of emphasis on I want to get the job.
Yes.
And excitement in terms with regards to I'm starting to work for this company.
Yeah.
And all of the other things in between are not really explored like they should.
It's really disappointing for me because I've also dealt with it as an employer.
Yeah.
And, we'll put out an offer and, the offer is what's good for me. I think it makes me happy to know that I'm putting this out. And if you accept it as it is, it's great for me. But if I put out an offer and you see there's an opportunity for you to get more out of it, I don't know why people don't ask. Like, you just ask, when I learned that you could negotiate all of these things in your contract, I was like, damn,
Even your
I wish I was still,
terms with the rental, you
like,
can negotiate.
literally, you can negotiate every little thing. And a lot of people don't like that or they don't do that. I had someone who we recently employed and they negotiated. It was the first time I had someone who said, I'd like this, and this. And I was like, okay, cool, that makes sense. There are things that you can give, things that you can't give. And that kind of made me proud because it was a first where someone did not just take the offer to heart as it is and then they accepted it. They knew that there were certain things that they wanted and they wanted to try push the envelope a bit with us. And then there were things that were given and there were things that were not going to happen. And I was like, okay, cool, proud of you. At least you know what you were.
The best you can do is to represent yourself well.
True.
That's always what I say. So if we think about where you are now as an entrepreneur, how do you receive briefs from because you're in the creative business?
Yes.
Your clients give you very specific briefs.
Yes.
How do you bridge the conversation between the client's expectation and
ours?
And what is practical and feasible within your trade? Because I know that there's usually clients do have big dreams and sometimes can be very specific.
Yeah. I think, experience teaches you the best way to approach things. When you are young, you always want to put your ideas first because you want to show you are creative, you want to show you are smart, and you've got the answers to all of these things. And the older you become and the wiser you become, you realize that it's not about you. It's about what the client wants, and what you are approaching or what you are giving is an alternative way to bring their idea to life. And all of it for me is all based on, the achievability of what the client is trying to do and the investment they're putting towards those ideas. And, I call it an investment and not a cost because once you want to do something, you know the worth of what you're trying to do. And it's an investment. You're not just calling it, we're paying for this thing and then it's done. It's an investment to either, highlight a specific thing that you want to speak about in your brand or you want to advertise your company. It's an investment towards the company. It's not just paying for a service and it's done. So I always think that the investment always dictates what is feasible and what we are able to achieve and how we can achieve it. And that becomes the one way to do it. And then you now have to fuse that with your idea and what the brief says. Because what we don't do, we don't regurgitate what a brief says and then just give it back as it is. What we like to do is say, okay, cool, this is your brief. This is how we're going to approach it. And from our approach, we think this is smart. We'll keep this part of your brief. We'll infuse it with this part of our creative. And a lot of the times, we come up with great ideas that end up not working because the investment is not as high as we thought it would be. Because, you see...
I love it when creatives are like,
oh my God.
budget is the problem. I'm like, well,
I think it's because there's no guardrails.
Okay.
If there are guardrails, then you know what you can and cannot do. And I prefer briefs with guardrails because it allows you to think within a budget. You say, okay, cool, it's 2 million rand for a commercial. We've got 2 million rand to be able to do this. We can't have aeroplanes and people diving down from, from a stunt because that's an extra cost. It's insurance. It's all of this stuff. So what do? Oh, we do a person flying in a green screen as if they diving. So it just becomes
clever
alternatives
ways.
to do it and still show, still carry the client's message through. And I feel like that's the best way to do it. You look at how much the client has to do what they need to do and what we're really trying to achieve. Because a lot of times creatives get drawn into doing stuff for creatives and not for the client.
Not for the client.
No. And that's the worst thing that is happening in the culture right now, because creatives want to impress creatives and they do amazing creative stuff, and then it does not, land the message.
Yeah, and those are deeply frustrating when I encounter those moments. That's for me is like actually one of the reasons why a fail would be attributed to a project. So
Yes.
when we're chatting offline,
Yes.
you have a recent experience um, of failure and
Yes.
a stumble that
Yes.
happened. Tell us about what happened.
So our business has been running for almost 6 years now. And
Congratulations.
thank
That's a good
you.
milestone.
That is, I celebrated the 5 years because they say that small businesses in South Africa fail just before they hit five. It's between 3 and 5 years. That's when small businesses fail. And when we made it to five, I made it a thing because surviving this
right.
climate is a
Yeah.
great thing.
Yeah.
But in the last 5 years, we've done really well. And we've never really had a hiccup where a project was delivered late. We pride ourselves by delivering on time. And earlier this year, at the beginning of the year, we took on a project, and that project was a great project. It looked amazing. We executed it really well when we were shooting, and then in post-production we got delayed. Tried a new editor and a new approach, and the editor let us down, and it led to us delivering late. And it was the very first time that I've had to work around a late delivery. Like, I've had to work around, and we sweated. Like, normally we don't sweat. It's always an easy thing. We're always over prepared. And I remember I was disappointed, but again, it was also a reminder that even the eagle has to land. You cannot always be soaring or flying sky high and think everything will be fine. At some point, you are going to land, and you need to be brought back to earth. And that for me was a reminder that no matter how good you are, at some point, you need a reminder. You're going to get burnt, and then it reminds you that even the mighty can fall.
Yeah.
Even the mighty can fall. And when you fall, it's about how you get up. You gracefully, tinta yourself, and then you get
Look
up,
to
and
the
then
left and the right and see who witnessed this fall.
luckily for us, it wasn't a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there's been a few experiences this year as well. There was a podcast that we wanted to do and we're trying to do, and we work in the space where we work with audio visuals, and we did really well on the visual side, and then the audio failed. And again, like all these things are happening in one year, like right after each other. And
that's
it's just lessons that even when you know things still go wrong. You can be prepared. You can do all of these things. The great thing about it is you've got the opportunity to get up and do it again.
So what did this moment teach you?
I think for me, the big thing was just to accept it for what it is. I don't think there was a bigger lesson beyond that, because I think, I always prepare for the worst, no matter what happens. And I think that's been the one thing that has led us to the 5 years where we didn't have late deliveries like this specifically, which kind of, put us in jeopardy with the client, and the idea is, go back to what you used to. Always
Don't change the editor.
Don't change the editor. And that was it. That was the big thing. That was
Of the book.
Oh my
Keep the
God.
editor you've always had.
And the thing about it is I love giving people opportunities.
Yeah,
And I wanted to give someone an opportunity to show me what they can do.
course, yeah.
And, they fell into, they had a personal experience that contributed to them being late. It had nothing to do with just the professional side.
Yeah.
It does reflect on them professionally, but it wasn't because they did not want to do it. They just had a personal issue that, ended up costing us, this work.
Yeah.
But for me, I took it for what it was. It was a lesson to use what you are used to. And it's because you're in control of that. We've built a system for 5 years, and now you're stepping out of the system. When things go wrong, you can't really get mad about it because you decided to try something new. That's the big thing. And
How did you navigate the conversation with your client?
I was raised and not by family, but by some of my clients who I went to school with right after varsity. I was a freelancer who took on too much now and again, right? And I didn't know how to say no. And I remember a guy named Deboho saying, Austin, who are your client and not just your friends. And you need to be able to have conversations with us when things can't happen. And I was 23 at that time. And I remember that it allowed me to be able to express when things are going bad early and be okay with what they say. And when it went bad with the client, I remember I went back to them and I said, hey guys, this thing is delayed and I am going to do my best to give you something on the day that we're supposed to deliver it. And then I went back to one of the guys in my team and I said, listen, now we've got 2 days to work on an edit of this thing. And last time we had a week and you only have 2 days. Can you do something for me? And then he was like, cool, no problem. Worked overnight and then he delivered something to us in the morning. And then we made changes to that. And then he had another day to work on it. And then we delivered it on the day that it was supposed to be delivered.
Yeah.
But it was
I can
not
breathe.
but it was not
The
what it was
quality,
supposed to
yeah.
be. It was not what it was supposed to be because
Yeah.
we lost 5 days. And imagine if you are able to deliver a 50% with 2 days, imagine if you had all 7 days. You would have had
Imagine.
something amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And what would you say people should learn about saying no? You learned to say no. What would you say people need to learn?
I think there's, and I remember I always attribute this to a conversation I heard on the radio with Nomzamo Mbata. I remember she says no to certain things. And I was like, why would you do that? And, she just explained that certain opportunities may look like great opportunities, but when they're not presented in the right way, they're not great opportunities. And I later realized that even in the same time when I was in varsity, when I was taking on a lot of things, what I was doing is burning myself on both ends. And I would ruin my reputation by not delivering on time, and then it would sour relationships, and that would not be great. But saying no gives you the ability to choose what works for you and when it works for you.
Yeah.
So when I started working in the industry, I remember there was a time where I said, after 8 o'clock, I'm not taking any work calls. Because I'm not a surgeon. We're not doing open heart surgery.
When Austin doesn't answer the
Yeah.
phone.
And if you really need me, you'll call me tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
And I remember someone once called me for a job and they called me around the time that my phone goes on Do Not Disturb, and then they didn't get through. And then they called me in the morning. They're like, oh, I called you in the evening. And I was like, yeah, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb because I want to spend time with family.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh my God, in this industry, I wish we could. But I'm like, the idea of saying yes keeps you open to everything. And if you are open to everything, when do you have time for self?
Yeah.
When do you have time to just be, And a lot of us romanticize being busy. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a creative. And there's no romance in all of that. All you're doing is just burning yourself out until you get worn out. And then you realize that, you know what, there should have been a time where I took time off and then just being by myself.
Yeah.
And one of the other reasons I say no is because there are projects that come and they look amazing. They look polished like diamonds. And then when you take it on, you realize that you're actually fixing something that's broken and you really can't fix it.
Sure.
And that came from, again, varsity times, right after varsity, I would take on fixing projects for people. They went to someone else and then it didn't work out. Now you must come in to fix it. And a fixed job is harder than a job that you are doing yourself. It's like trying to fix a house that someone built and you don't even know where they started and why they did it that way.
Yeah.
It does not help you.
Yeah.
You burn yourself. So any jobs that are fixed jobs for me are a no-no. Like I can't.
Just come quickly.
Just-
This production
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
We have the
No.
components of it.
No.
Can you stack it up
No,
like this?
I am not stitching anything up for anyone. I am not, even if it's like retouching photos for someone, I'm not, I can't fix jobs. That's the hard no. And then you already, because I've been in the industry for as long as I've been, you already know when a job comes and it's going to be problematic. The brief is not correct. The brief is missing information. The brief is changing while you are working on the previous brief. I've had to walk away from certain jobs because the
Checking
brief
if my
changed.
team does those things. I'm like going through behaviors in my team.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
I've had to walk away from jobs like, a day before, 2 days before, because what we agreed upon when I got onto the job is not what is being communicated to me the day before. And sometimes people don't want to work with you because of that, but that's okay, because I'm not going to compromise myself for you.
Yeah.
Because you and I agreed in the beginning, 2 weeks ago, you said you want a video that's 1 minute long, that is a recap of this and this, and then we agreed on the cost. Then the day before you add, oh, we didn't consider a drone, we didn't consider this. Can you just do that? Okay, this is changing the cost. No, but can you do it in the same cost? You're already going to be there. Oh, no, the drone needs a pilot. That's someone I must pay. And then it's like, no, okay, cool, no problem. If we're going to have a fight about it, I'd rather
It's
just
not
walk
for me.
away.
Yeah,
And then you can
got
find
you.
someone who will do that, because
Yeah.
people don't understand that all of that negativity spills into the work that you're doing. And now you don't want to do it the same way because, I'm compromising, you're not compromising. What am I benefiting from, the compromise? Nothing.
That's true. It's true that it spills onto the work and the energy's
It
shifted.
shifts.
It's like in the creative business, we underestimate the role of energy.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah. What kind of people do you surround yourself with in as far as those people participating in your journey, being there for you when things don't work out, when you fail? What's your tribe like?
I think I have an amazing tribe in terms of the people who are around me personally and professionally. I have a very amazing supportive partner. She has been with me since the beginning of my business. She has seen every single little thing.
Yeah.
And above that, I also have a mentor who cuts the bullshit. I think
We love
I think
mentors like that.
I think and he's not a mentor who just tells you things. I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes you have mentors who are motivational speakers who are just good at speaking, but there is no application.
Yeah.
And that really sucks for me because I am not asking for you to motivate me. I can motivate myself. But the reason I'm stuck is because I can't find the way to deal with a situation.
Yeah.
And my mentor, Craig Rodney, he's like just an amazing gentleman who, when I face problems, I send him a message. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm going through. Can we get on a call? And then I'll explain my entire situation, and he will ask me questions to help navigate the situation myself.
Okay.
He's not going to give me the answer, but he's also he's not giving me empty motivation that works for a second.
Okay.
What he's doing is, you now need to see the problem from your point of view. This is where the objectivity comes from.
Yeah.
Someone who's objective and someone who's not just siding with you. They are asking you all the questions about what you've done, how the situation ended up the way it is, and how you're gonna navigate it. What do you think you need to do?
Yeah.
And when you're speaking to him, he's like, okay, cool. This is the best way I think you can approach it. Have you considered doing this as well? So it's not given, it's also earned.
Yeah.
Because you now have to do the work with him.
Yeah.
Figure out, how do we fix it? What do you do? And I think that's the one thing that has really helped. And I only regret finding him so late in life because I
How
had
long have
already.
you guys been in this relationship?
We've known each other for about 7 years, if not longer. But the relationship in terms of mentor-mentee
yeah.
has been something that's been going on for about 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
But, if it just gone back slightly, and I blame it on myself because I didn't think, I needed it. You always think you can just do it. You've got the bravado. You think, it's all me, it's all me. And it's like, no, actually, life gets hard and you need people you can call when it's hard and just
Yeah.
speak to them and then explain what you're going through.
Yeah.
And especially people who've been in similar positions to you,
Yeah.
because then they understand what you're going through and they're also objective. So when you want to blow up the house, they're like, no, why would you do that? Have you considered just walking away into a different room, calm down, look at everything objectively,
Yeah.
and then walk back, and then this is what you can practically do to diffuse the situation and how you're feeling.
And do you mentor anyone?
I wouldn't call it mentor like that. I don't think, I've got a lot of young guys in the business who come to me in terms of, structuring the business, small challenges that they face. And I've always been open to speak to people because I think all this knowledge that you gain, from the experience that you have,
Yeah.
what do you do with it in the end? If you're
Yeah.
just going to die, or, I'm not ready to write a book. And I also think, a book is the end of that specific chapter,
Yeah.
when you're ready to do that. But I just
Yeah.
think that if I know how to do certain things and someone is asking me, if I do it, it helps them. It's paying it forward for me. Someone paid it forward for me. There's people that I spoke to who taught me things and I learned from them and I was able to change my trajectory through that. So, I've got a few people that I speak to, people who they probably call me a mentor, but I think I'm a voice of guidance in the storm. So, there was one of the guys I was speaking to this morning going through certain challenges, and, I was able to objectively just show him what is happening in the industry, and it's not just him, so those sort of things I'm open to doing, and I do a bit of it.
Yeah. And so when you think now about this conversation around failure and how people struggle to pick themselves up and keep pushing on, do you have a moment where you had to speak to yourself, calm yourself down, don't blow the house up, get out of bed, brush your teeth, and knock at someone's door and like, Austin is back. Yesterday was hard. Here we are today.
I think when you run a business, that happens every other day. I just had 2 guys resign from my team this week.
Oh no.
And that was a punch to the gut, because we've spent so much time, about 3 years, with both of these guys, and they've decided to head out. And I think that on its own is a moment like that. And I always have to, think about it and what it means. But I don't think I ever let myself get down that much.
Okay.
And I think that's purely because of how I see things. Because if you let that punch to the gut linger too long, then you learn to get used to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people who, maybe I'm wrong, but people who fail is because they wallow too long. And once you do that, you feel sad for yourself, and you get used to this feeling of comforting yourself in sadness, that you don't get up fast enough to fight. And as soon as you get up and then you fight, you're now ready to, you're back on your 2 feet and ready to box. And when you box, you fight back, and you keep pushing. And then next thing, you're going to land the proper punch, and then you take them down. So I always just feel like no matter what happens, I've never been gutted or like down for longer than a day.
Yeah.
And for me, I think I'm just crazy enough. I think they always say as an entrepreneur, you need to be, I forgot the word, but it says that you have to have a side of crazy in you. And I truly believe that, because you have to be audacious enough to believe that it's you.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then that's where the problems start. Like, I've been in this business for as long as it's been, and I've faced some amazing challenges, but I've never let none of them define me as a person or my business, because that's just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
It's just a hurdle that we're going to jump over, and then you walk, and then there's going to be another hurdle, and then you jump over that, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And have you had projects that you turned down and later
regretted.
having them done, because I love that we
Oh
are good
my
at saying
God.
no. Have you had moments where you're like, I
Ah,
should have actually made a different decision? And how did that feeling feel?
oh my
That moment,
God.
how did it feel?
Let me think about these projects that I might have
Oh
turned
my
down.
God, you're frightening me, because I think there's going to be one that's going to be bigger than big.
I don't think it's projects,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's people.
Okay.
There are people I've missed out on who have knocked at my door, and I was not quick enough to give them the opportunity, and they became someone bigger. And then I look back and I'm like, damn, that was right here on my doorstep. It has happened with two photographers
Are
who are
you
well known.
serious?
Yeah, and they're doing really well.
Yeah.
And I think I slept on them like properly. I took a nap, as the young guys would say. You
Say,
napped on
yeah.
them, and I
Yeah.
really did. But then again, I never see it as that as well. I think it was just not the right time.
Yes.
It was just not the right time for me, and it was not the right time for them. Because
Yes.
if they came to me, I don't think they would be
Then
where they are. That's the
yeah.
other thing.
Yeah.
So there's always the consideration of that. But I think when you see it and you're like, yo, if they had worked with me, this would be where the talent is.
Yes.
But then you also have to consider the upside. If they had that opportunity, who knows if they would have worked as hard or to build themselves to where they are. Because then I think sometimes people get the opportunities, then they get complacent.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't have been where they are. So
Yeah.
it's both beneficial. There's pros and cons to all of it.
No, of course there would be. Of course.
Yeah, I kick myself.
Oh
I
my
promise you.
God,
I kick
yeah.
myself about these two guys. I'm like, yo.
And at the moment, why
Austin.
did you not answer the door fast enough? Or
I don't
what
think
got in the way?
I think where the business was at that time.
Okay.
I think I remember the one I had just hired someone, and he would have been a perfect fit for what it was. And when it happened, I had just hired someone, and if he had asked me a week earlier, he would have had it.
Okay.
If it was a week earlier. And then the other one, it was just when the business had just started, and I didn't have the stability for it.
Okay.
And
I mean, those are all good reasons.
they are.
They're really good reasons.
But when you look at their success rate, and you're like, damn, I could have been part of that.
I love that. It's like missing out on stocks when the share price drops for a day.
Bitcoin.
And you're like, I should have bought those shares yesterday, but
Oh
you
my
you
God.
slept on it.
I did.
Yeah, yeah.
But it also gave me an opportunity to work with other people as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And that was also amazing.
Yeah.
So you never know the reasons why the things did not work out the way they did. And who knows if those relationships would have flourished with us, or if it wouldn't have. It could have soured. It could have been something worse. So I always try think of everything in the alternative as well. For every success, there's a failure. So if you succeeded with this person, what happens if the opposite had also happened?
Yeah.
So because a lot of us think about it in one way, it's just success, 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 success. But what if you failed? Then what?
Then what? Yeah. Because that's highly likely. That is a beautiful place to start. Thank you so much, Austin. That was Austin on Cheers to Failure and the conversation. My God, beautiful. Thank you, Austin. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please won't you do me a favor? Click the subscribe button as well as the notifications button so you know when we've got new content on our YouTube channel. And share it with your friends, whoever you believe needs to know that failure doesn't mark the end, but is filled with beautiful, glorious lessons we all need to have. Thank you.